The second I spawned into the desert, I realized I had no clue where I was. So when I spotted someone driving by, I immediately assumed they had to be some kind of tour guide. At that point, I was just looking for anyone who could help me figure out what this place was all about. To my surprise, they actually ended up giving me a full tour. They drove me all across the desert, like I was on vacation, showing off the towering mountains, the endless desert sky, an ancient city hidden in the sand, and even their boats. I had to admit, for a place I had just spawned into, it was actually pretty impressive. Once the tour finally came to an end, I decided to ask for something a little unusual. Instead of thanking them and leaving, I asked if I could become a tour guide killer. Somehow, they actually agreed. Not only did they let me take on the role, but they even gave me a sword and handed over their car. I went from being a lost traveler in the desert to something much more dangerous. Eventually, I would get my first customer. It was a little blue alien who seemed genuinely excited for the opportunity. He had no idea what he was signing up for, but he was ready for the adventure. And for me, this was the moment I had been waiting for, my first official tour as a tour guide killer. Now I couldn't just take him out right away. I had to get him somewhere far away from everyone else, where no one could see what was happening or give him a chance to escape. Luckily, the tour guide role made that part easy. I took him around to different attractions first, showing him the sights and letting him get comfortable. Little did he know, this wasn't just a normal tour. When we arrived at the ancient city, I decided it was time for a little change of pace. Instead of showing him everything from the car, I took him on a walking tour through the ruins. I led him deeper and deeper into the area, showing him the hidden parts that most people would never find. The further we went, the quieter it became, and eventually we reached the perfect spot away from everyone else. My first customer was finally taken care of. You could say it was a successful start to my new career, but I wasn't done yet. With that adventure over, I headed back toward town, ready to find more people who needed a guide. After all, every tour guide needs more customers. I found another alien and offered them a tour, but they turned me down. Luckily, someone nearby overheard and decided they wanted the tour instead. I did everything the same as last time. I showed him some of the desert's attractions, letting him enjoy the sights before leading him to the ancient city. And just like my first customer, that's where his journey would come to an end. With 2 customers under my belt, things were going pretty well. I mean, technically they weren't exactly around to recommend my services, but I was ready to head back into town and find even more people looking for a tour. This tour was different. Instead of just one person, there was an entire group ready to join. When I offered them the tour and they were all interested, I knew I had hit the jackpot. More customers meant more opportunities, and this was shaping up to be my biggest tour yet. I did the same thing as before, showing them around the attractions before heading toward the ancient city. But this group had other plans. They kept asking to see the mountain instead. So for this trip, I decided to go along with it. Not because they wanted to, but because, let's just say, finding people in an open area sounded a lot easier than searching through a crowded city. And now, the fun part begins. An entire group in one trip. You could say I made a week's pay in an instant. This was easily my biggest tour yet. I headed back into town to find even more customers, and before long, I found another person ready for a tour. So I did what I always did, showed him the sights, gave him the full experience, and continued the routine like nothing had changed. But then, he said something I hadn't heard from anyone before. Maybe there's a killer out here. I thought it was just a joke and laughed it off. After all, he was with me, the person showing him around. Surely he had nothing to worry about. Then, someone I didn't recognize jumped into the car. I didn't think much of it and let him join the tour, but I soon realized it was my second customer, who had somehow survived and returned to ruin my plans. He warned the other guy that I was the killer, and before I could do anything, they made a run for the ocean cliff. Once they disappeared out of sight, I didn't bother chasing them. There was no way they could survive out there in the sea like that. Little did I know, they might have survived. I can only assume that's what happened, because somehow, a $1,000 bounty was placed on me by the ruler of the desert. While I was parked, I was approached by someone I didn't recognize. Now thieves were common in the desert, and he demanded my money. But he didn't attack me right away, which made me realize the news about my bounty probably hadn't spread everywhere yet. That meant I still had time. Maybe I could squeeze in a few more tours before everyone came looking for me. Anyways, I made quick work of that thief and was back on track. But I could no longer stay in the city. With the bounty out there, it was only a matter of time before someone found me. So before I went back to giving tours, I decided it was time to build myself a base, somewhere I could lay low and plan my next move. But while I was trying to find another person for a tour, things took a turn. I was suddenly attacked, and I knew I had to get out of there. I quickly drove away from the city toward my base, hoping I had escaped. But he wasn't giving up. He followed me all the way there. We fought for a little while, but eventually he backed off from my base. I thought he was leaving, but instead, he started building a wall nearby, and something else I didn't recognize at the time. Then, without warning, he started shooting at me. It was clear he wasn't planning on giving up anytime soon. I had a gun too, but I wasn't exactly the best shot. So I only used it to weaken him from a distance before closing in with my sword, just like I had done before. At first, it seemed like the plan was working. But little did I know, this was exactly what he wanted. I had walked straight into his trap. The wall, the setup, everything was leading to this moment. And before I knew it, I fell into a spike trap, bringing my streak to an end. The tours ended, the bounty was claimed, and the story of the desert's most feared guide came to a final stop.